Ever imagine being trapped in the most unforgiving place on Earth? I mean, really picture it. The chilling cold, the feeling of being completely alone, and then asking yourself, how would I survive?
That's exactly what we're going to unpack today. The unbelievable story of the Andes flight disaster.
Right. Not just the crash itself, though that's definitely part of it. But like you said, what happens after? When hope starts to dwindle, when the elements are against you and there seems to be no way out.
It's a story that grabs you by the gut and forces you to ask some really difficult questions.
So let's rewind the clock a bit. It's October 13th, 1972, and a flight, Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571, full of, get this, a rugby team and their supporters, crashes into the Andes Mountains.
And not just a little bump, a full-on catastrophic crash. Out of the 45 people on board, only 29 survived that initial impact.
Wow, 29. I mean, that's just the beginning. Talk about setting the scene for a story of, well, survival. But the Andes Mountains, that's not exactly the most forgiving environment, is it?
No, not at all, especially at that altitude. We're talking freezing temperatures, like bone-chilling cold, treacherous terrain, avalanches waiting to happen. And here's the thing, they weren't prepared for any of this. No real cold weather gear, limited supplies. They were stranded.
So what happens next? I mean, someone somewhere must have known they were missing. There had to be search parties, right?
There were search parties. For 8 long days, the survivors clung to the hope that those planes flying overhead, those specks in the distance, were there to rescue them.
8 days. That's a long time to hold on to hope, only to have it ripped away.
And ripped away it was. They received news from a small radio they had salvaged that the search had been called off.
Wow. I can't fathom the feeling, stranded on a frozen mountain and then to hear that no one is coming. Or talk about a punch to the gut. So what did they do? I mean, did they just give up?
Give up? No. This is where the story takes an even more unbelievable turn. They were starving, resources were dwindling, and they made a choice. A choice that continues to be debated to this day, a choice born of desperation and the will to survive.
They resorted to cannibalism.
It's a difficult subject to broach, but it's an integral part of this story. They made a calculated decision to consume the bodies of those who had perished in the crash. It was their only option to stay alive.
And survive, they did. It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit that even in the face of the unimaginable, there's still a flicker of fight in us.
But it wasn't just blind luck, or even the elements that they were up against. It was the mental strain, the grief, that constant fight for survival.
So how did they eventually escape? You mentioned 72 days. That is a long time to endure such harsh conditions. How did they get out of that?
Well, that's where Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa come in. After 72 days, yes, you heard that right, 72 days, these two incredibly determined individuals decided to take matters into their own hands.
Wait, so they just decided to walk out of the Andes Mountains after 72 days?
Pretty much. They knew that if they stayed put, they would perish. So they embarked on a grueling 10-day trek without proper equipment or maps through some of the most unforgiving terrain on the planet.
10 days. How? Just how did they do it?
It's a testament to the power of human will. They pushed their bodies and minds to the absolute limit, fueled by the slimmest sliver of hope and the knowledge that they were the only ones who could save themselves and their fellow survivors.
And they found help. I mean, they actually made it out.
They did. Against all odds, they found a shepherd who alerted authorities, and finally, after 72 days of unimaginable hardship, a rescue team reached the crash site. 16 souls survived. But the ordeal wasn't over. The trauma, the memories, and the weight of their decisions stayed with them.
This story, it's more than just a survival story, isn't it?
Not at all. It raises so many questions about human endurance, the choices we make when faced with unimaginable circumstances, and the ripple effect of those choices. The Andes flight disaster sparked global debate about the ethics of survival, about what it truly means to be alive.
Exactly. It makes you think, really think, about what you would do in that situation. Would you have the strength, the resilience, the willpower to survive against all odds?
It's a chilling thought, but one that I think we all carry with us. The Andes flight disaster is a story that stays with you long after you've heard it. It's a testament to the power and the fragility of the human spirit.
It certainly is. And it makes you wonder, what would you have done?
What would you have done?